three scenarios where behavioral questions are used to influence hiring decisions, which I'd like to share with you today. First one is to spot questionable behaviors. Okay, and when I say questionable behaviors, I don't mean to just spot people lying in job interviews. That's a pretty classic use case. But a behavioral interview could well be used to spot questionable behaviors on a much broader scale. And I'd like to give you two examples here. What is considered as acceptable business practice or way of doing things in one place may not be perceived the same in other companies, such as the companies you may be applying for. And just to give you an extreme example here, which is happening mostly in outsourced environments, a project manager installing webcams and software keyloggers as a method to increase employee productivity. Right, so this example wouldn't be the ideal story one would give to an interview question such as, how do you ensure projects get delivered on time? Right, and the second example I want to give you here, classic approach of spotting questionable behaviors, is for an interviewer to ask you about a time when you had a beef with someone. Okay, so interpersonal skills. And this question can actually be more revealing than most people realize, and of course, therefore, influence the outcome of a job interview either way, by the way. Okay. The second scenario I wanted to talk about here, of where behavioral interviews do actually play a key role, is to answer a wide range of interview questions. Okay, and I'd like to talk about three types of questions here. The first example is when the question you're asked is behavioral, but it's framed in a rather counterintuitive way. Okay, so for example, what's your worst failure? Okay, it might really sound intimidating to some of you, and some people will fail to understand it's actually the same as someone just asking you, can you please tell me about the time when you failed? Okay, so it's a pretty standard interview question if you put it this way. The second example, how do you prioritize? Okay, so again, this doesn't sound like a behavioral question, and in all fairness, it's not necessarily one. It's just basically just an open-ended question. However, if you answer this open-ended question with an open-ended answer, such as I always do my best to gather the right data and take the best decisions to prioritize, it won't really sound like a great answer, and it won't be a great answer, or at least it won't differentiate you in any meaningful way from other candidates, right? The best way to answer such questions is to focus on a specific example of a time when you prioritize, or even better, if you could do it with multiple times when you prioritize, so the interviewer can actually get a better feeling of how you perform in these scenarios, right? And the third type of question would be the introductory questions that tell me about yourself. Okay, which again, tell me about it is not a tell me about a time when type of question. So how can a behavioral interview prep can influence your elevator pitch here? Everyone who prepares a story bank will know exactly what their best and not so great stories are. Okay, so your elevator pitch will always have to contain references to your professional achievements. Okay, that is your stories more often than not, and simply knowing which stories you want them to hear about you, okay, allows you to basically plant references to only your best stories in your elevator pitch. Okay, and this can actually make all the difference in the world if you can drive the conversation your way during a job interview, starting with the introductory questions, right? And the final scenario I want to talk about here of interesting use cases for behavioral interviews, they can well be used to determine if someone took the time to prepare for the interview. Okay, so to basically gauge if the candidate takes the interview seriously. Okay, so for example, if I ask you, tell me about the time when you failed, it's a question not many people feel comfortable answering, or at least not when hearing it for the first time. Okay, so generally speaking, it's time consuming to prepare behavioral interviews. If you only try brainstorming and revising a few stories, and you immediately understand what I mean. Okay, so maybe as a closing remark here, if you happen to have an excellent CV and interviewing skills, it may not be considered as essential to seriously prepare a behavioral interview. But the interesting scenario is that convincing them that you took their interview seriously can often help you to negotiate a better offer and even to get up-leveled in certain cases. So I wish you good luck with your interview, and please do let me know how it goes.